Hello. Presented here are instructions on how to use my NaviSet Transfer plugins. This package contains 2 plugins and 2 Max scripts. NaviSet Transfer itself exports the sets data, and there is a timeliner exporter that handles the timeline data. So what I'm doing here is I'm preparing the sets for export. The best way to do this is to use the built-in tool that converts the timeliner sets to selection sets. This is important because you want to use the sets name to match the timeliner events. If your sets already match, this step is unnecessary. After that, you're ready to export the sets. Go to your Tool Add-ins tab and click NaviSet Export. When the window comes up, you have 2 options. You can start the export or cancel. Granted, I could have just put one button here, but I wanted to emphasize the option because once it starts, you'll have to wait for it to finish before you can do anything. So be sure you're ready. On larger files, it can take a while, so I've made it so that you can see the selection progression in the background, in addition to the task progression percentage in the foreground. When the Save As window pops up, it's ready. Type in the name of the file you want to save and hit enter. You now have the sets data recorded in a file format that the Set Import Max script can read. If you'd like to handle the animation yourself, you could stop here and do the rest of the work manually in Max. But in case you didn't, I've written a plugin to transfer timeline events. It's incomplete, but I think it's enough to get started if you know enough about Max to fix any animation weirdness. Here's a look at the files themselves. The sets are recorded like so, with ID numbers and file names in case you're working with multiple Revit files. Here's the timeliner file. It's basically a simplified version of the CSV export you could have done natively. Okay, so now we're going to bring the Revit file into Max using the Revit linking tool. If you've created a 3D view in Revit, specifically for Navisworks, go ahead and select that to make sure you can work with the same 3D data you had in Navisworks. It's important to select Do not combine entities before clicking Attach this file. I'm going to speed this up so you won't have to wait for the import. Alright, so now it's imported. Be sure to save, but afterwards be ready to use the Set Import script to bring in the sets. The set import may take a while, but don't fret, I'm using a binary search algorithm to speed things up. Oh yeah, and I've edited this video, so you won't have to wait as long as I did. Now you can import the timeliner data. Again, this is optional. If you're willing, you could stop here and animate the building yourself using just the selection sets. There will be some animation work that'll need to be done either way, as you'll see in the rendered portion of this video. Be sure to save. Before you bring in the timeline, you can edit the frame count. The script will fill in whatever space you define, so if you want a longer animation, just make the frame count bigger before importing the timeline. This is the point where you'll need to do some further work to clean things up a bit. But I hope the scripts and the plugins have made this process easier. The main hassle you might have left is the time it'll take to render everything. You might decide to use the 3D view and export frames from there to save time. Or you may use Mental Ray, the Scanline Renderer, or even iRay. The behavior of the materials in each renderer will be slightly different. In this example, I used iRay. Here's the rendering now. Thanks for watching.